So the federal government shutdown continues and the finger pointing also continues. Both political sides right now, they're blaming each other for leveraging federal workers during a shutdown. From the Democrats' perspective, this is essentially blackmail. The Republicans have blackmailed the American public when it comes to health care, because what the Democrats are fighting for are the premium subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Now, if you're watching this doesn't pertain to you. You probably receive your health care through your employer. So if you're a federal employee, there's a relationship there where they set you up with a provider, you pay, and then that's how you get your health care. Same thing if you're in the military. If you're in the military, you use TRICARE. And if you have another job, you work through that employer to get an insurance plan. So what we're talking about here are people that do not get insurance through an employer. Now, are these undocumented immigrants? Sometimes it could be, but it's also Americans. It's not either or. It's not just saying this is healthcare for Americans or this is just healthcare for illegal immigrants. It could be both. Both things could be true at the same time. Now, for the Republican side, they're looking at this saying, we've sent the Democrats 4 clean CRs, continuing resolutions, and each one is being denied. They're not cooperating. And what's on the line? Federal jobs, programs that are desperately needed by a lot of Americans. It's all on the line. And both sides really are to blame. Both sides seem to be playing politics. Last Friday, there was another vote. But you guessed it, nothing changed. It was the same outcome. You still had 2 Democratic senators break ranks to vote with the Republicans, but it wasn't enough. So it doesn't look like the House will be voting on this again. It's still in the Senate. The House is on a recess for the next 10 days or so that's not going to be happening. There's going to be increasingly more pressure placed on the Senate to vote. There'll probably be another vote tomorrow. Tomorrow being Monday, October 6th. They're going to vote. And you know what's going to happen? Nothing. It's not going to pass. And then they're going to vote again with the same result. Because things will not change until there's pain. More pain has to be introduced for any change to exist. So what I'm guessing is probably around October, let's say 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere around there. That's when the paychecks start to be missed. People are like, well, what am I going to do? I need to go take out a loan because I can't afford anything, right? You're going to have those conversations. You're also going to see WIC. WIC is okay right now. Talking about impacting millions of children across this country. It's okay right now, but the longer that the shutdown continues, the more at risk the program is. This could impact north of 7 million kids throughout the country, so that needs to be taken seriously. Same thing with, it's hurricane season. It's October, right? It's hurricane season right now. So what happens if a hurricane impacts one of those southeastern states? That's going to have a whole other conversation. You're going to need federal funds to assist with that type of situation. Now, we will get a CR. We will get a continuing resolution. I think everybody knows that. We will get one. But the real question is, when? When are we going to get one? Is it going to be this coming week? Not according to Polymart. Polymarket is saying most people are believing that this gets resolved from the 15th to the 18th. So a little bit later than what I just said. 15th to the 18th, that's where the money is. People are actually betting on this shutdown being resolved. Now, when the CR goes through, it will probably fund the federal government all the way till the end of December. And then this is essentially kicking the can down the road because we're going to have to hash out this discussion again in December to try to either get a full bill passed or another CR. And if we know the history on how Congress does things, it'll probably be another CR. Will the Democrats get anything for their efforts? Probably not. This will have all been for show unless they get something. And most people don't think they're going to get anything. Now, if they get something, maybe they extend the subsidies somewhat. They extend the subsidies not for 10 years. That's not going to happen. Maybe not even for a full year. It could be several months. At the end of this shutdown, it will cost taxpayers of this country billions of dollars, by some estimate, $7 billion. That's how much it could potentially cost. Now, who's to blame? If you look at the polls, there's a lot of media out there doing polling. Left-leaning media, well, they're going to blame the Republicans. And the same thing if you look at the right-leaning media, they're going to blame the Democrats. So the closest I found to nonpartisan was the Associated Press. Now, some people say they lean left too, but the Associated Press, they're showing that most people blame both parties. And I think they're absolutely right. You need to be able to compromise despite your differences. And there's a lot of differences. It's not about your political campaigns. It's not about political donors. Really, it's about the American public, or it should be. Now, I think another big question on a lot of people's minds, what about those RIFs, those reduction in forces? What about the layoffs? Mass layoffs were coming. We were told that. We were told that the government shut down shortly after there would be mass layoffs. In fact, last week, the White House said Friday. That would be the day. They said 2 to 3 days, but they said that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So essentially, they meant Friday. Friday, there would be a huge announcement. Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. In fact, here we are, sitting on Sunday. And the only agency that I've heard of that has announced anything was USPTO, because they're closing an office. So they have a 1% layoffs. We're still talking about hundreds of people, but it's small in comparison to what the administration was talking about. They're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands at one particular point. But I think the last number I heard was somewhere between 15 and 20, 25,000, something like that. And that has not happened yet. So a lot of people are looking at it like, yeah, of course it hasn't happened. This was all, a deal technique, trying to close a deal, trying to pressure people into accepting whatever it is you want them to accept. So this was all negotiations. This was never genuine. This was never authentic. It was never really going to happen. But we're going to see. This is going to be a good week to find out, starting tomorrow, starting on Monday. Are RIFs going to be announced? If they are, you still need to give them 60 days. You need 60-day notice. There's people right now that have been applying for a job. God bless them, because you need to apply for a job. If you don't like where you're at now, you need to start applying today. They're applying for a job. They have a job offer, and now they have this decision they have to make. They're thinking, okay, I got this job offer, but I'm also told my position in the federal government is in jeopardy. I might get a RIF notice. If you are anticipating a RIF notice, which is a layoff notice, a lot of people, they want to get the notice, because that means, for a lot of people, that means severance. And severance can be tens of thousands of dollars. And in some situations, if you're high enough on the GS pay scale, it could even mean 6 figures. So people, they don't want to walk away from that if that's coming down the pipeline, and they're in a position right now where they're kind of frozen. They don't know what to do. So what do? I think if you're in that position, you want to go where they're going to reward you the best, monetarily speaking, where they're going to pay you the best, treat you the best, work-life balance, everything that's important to you in your phase of life, you go there. You can't just sit, in between and say, maybe I'll get a RIF notice. Maybe you don't get a RIF notice. Maybe nobody in your office gets a RIF notice. And then what? Did you just miss out on a job offer? So you really have to consider all the factors before you're making your decision in that type of situation. So while the nation is focused on a government shutdown, the Department of Treasury had something to say. They didn't announce furloughed workers. They didn't talk about RIFs or layoffs. Instead, they decided it was a great time to talk about a new coin, a new $1 coin that's coming to you soon. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this. It's a picture of President Trump on the coin. That's his face right on it. These little guys can start being minted as soon as next year, January. So in 3 months. Now, this is rare because usually we do not put the face of somebody who is alive on the coin. Now, there's several exceptions throughout history, but typically you wouldn't do that. And I think the political climate of this country, this is kind of a controversial decision. It's a little controversial. I don't know. You tell me what you think. But yeah, these things are going to be minted probably. It's not confirmed yet, but they'll probably be minted here shortly. So that's kind of interesting. Now, in addition to this, when it comes to mass layoffs, Trump actually said that Democrats were going to be the ones who get cut. Now, what does that statement even mean? If you want to dive a little deeper into that, I want you to check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.